Number 1. Airbrush. The simplest of brushes. The most meh of all brushes. But without it, your skin shading would lack a pizzazz. The skin is not a flat surface. It has something called volume. Especially in semi-realism, you wanna add that volume to give your character a more 3D look. And the easiest way to achieve that is with an airbrush. There are a couple of airbrushes in IBISPAINT, but I always use the triangle one. No specific reasons, I just love triangles. Where you place the shadows is depending on the light source. But in general, I use the airbrush around the face, eyes, nose, lips, neck, and also blush. Number 2. Hard shadow. You see this sharp, clean-cut shadow? That's hard shadow. Combined with soft shadow that we create using airbrush, it gives the skin more depth. To create hard shadow, I usually use lasso tool to map out where the shadows are. Again, the shape is depending on the light source, so if you're not sure, please use a reference. I don't care if like friggin' Jerry from your class says, using reference is cheating. Just shut up, Jerry. Use a reference. Don't make your life harder. After that, use the airbrush on the selected area. This will create sharp, clean-cut shadow faster than using a brush. Leave some area in softer shadow to create more depth to your character. If your shading looks pixelated, check your canvas size. It might be too small. I use 3000 by 3000. Yeah, maybe should have covered this in the beginning. Also, if it's shaky, that's fine. Just use a hard brush. I use this one by the way. Lower the opacity and then blend. You can use the smudge tool, but I don't recommend because it's too blurry and harder to control. Number 3. Colors. The skin reflects color from the environment or background. If you're in a purple room, for some reason, you'd also get purple on your skin. But the general rule of thumb is cool shadow, warm lighting. However, let's save that for later, so hold your horses, give them carrots or something. Before we go into these fancy looking colors, we must first use the dull colors. Okay, you might be thinking, dull colors? Can we just use these fancy colors? This looks like so much work. Are you perhaps dumb? Well, maybe. But here's the thing, using dull colors will let us focus on building our painting without getting distracted by a lot of vibrant colors. Think of it like building a house. You think this house just magically appeared like this? No, it went through the basic first, the foundation, the bricks, the cement, the other thing you need to build a house. If dull colors is too blah for you, use the multiply layer. It turns your colors darker and a little bit vibrant. This method also works for darker skin tone. If you don't want it to be too dull, move the color wheel to the right and pick the color around here. I usually just use this one color and only play around with the opacity until the rendering phase, aka the painting over the sketch. Let's give her eyes, because not gonna lie, she looks kinda unsettling. Okay, still unsettling, but let's move on. Okay, I think this is a good base for her skin. Now we can move on to rendering. But before that, I will paint the hair. How do you paint hair? Well, it's easy. Prepare a reference, soft brush, hard brush, and about 3 gallons of your own tears. Yeah, I will create a tutorial for it later. I'm adding some under eye fat. They are called aegyosal, I think. A lot of beginners tend to avoid the aegyosal because it makes the eyes look sleep deprived, which is true if you overdo it, so take lighter color and then darken it little by little. Use low opacity brush when drawing parts like sides of the nose and philtrum, because these parts are usually quite delicate. Do not use overly dark shadow for this. Remember when you're a kid and you draw noses like this? Oh, no? Oh. Just me? Well, anyway. It looks ugly because there are parts that should be drawn delicately, such as the philtrum and the sides of the nose. And yes, I'm quite disappointed in myself as a child. Features like lips and nose can get blurred when rendering, so let's give them a line art. Use dark red or brown for this so the line art is not very harsh. Other than that, do not add any details like eyelashes or beauty marks. Too many details could be distracting when you're rendering, so usually I add the details after I fix the colors. Okay, now it's time for the fancy colors to make an appearance. Right this way please, sir, Madam, I am going to use you. We're also going to use the blending modes, which is the layer types you can find here. I talk about this in more detail in my previous video, but real quick, these are the blending modes that I usually use. Multiply is for darker shadow, overlay is to add makeup and brighten the face, add for highlight, and color to add more color. Remember when I mentioned cool shadow, warm lighting? Remember that? You guys pay attention, right? Well, it can be achieved with the help of these blending modes. I will start with multiply first and darken the colors, especially on the hard shadow. Before adding any cool colors on the shadows, I like to use dull red first to deepen the color. Then I'm using overlay to apply a saturated color and makeup to the portrait. I usually use red, pink, and orange for the makeup, but feel free to experiment with other colors. You can also start adding blue to the shadow, but keep in mind, due to the nature of overlay, the color is mixed with the skin color and might become purplish. But you know what, that's fine, just apply it softly for now. Now we can use color to add stronger shade of blue. I usually apply it to areas with darker shadow, like below the nose, eyebrows, chin, and below the ear. If you don't really like blue, you can also use purple or any cool colors in between. I don't recommend using green though, because it looks weird unless your entire background is also green, or if you're drawing Shrek or Plankton.
Hey, don't take it personally. I just assume everyone is lying.
Anyway, adding cool colors to the skin makes it less monotone. This step is optional, but I like to merge all the layers and paint the newly added colors using hard brush to give it more texture. Personally, I'm not a fan of overly smooth skin, like Barbie skin, so I always do this before adding highlights. Now create add layer, lower the opacity, and pick warm colors like red or orange. I always use lighter version of those colors because the highlight looks prettier that way. I'm using airbrush first to add soft highlights. This is to give volume to the face. Apply it to the cheekbones, forehead, nose, and chin. Paint it over the shadow will also give it a nice effect. Don't forget to highlight the hair and body as well. After that, I'm adding small highlights on the aegyosal, corners of the eyes, eyeball, tip of the nose, nose bridge, and this part of the nose, which I don't know what it's called, and the side of the nose, just a little. For the lips, add highlights to the cupid's bow and the lower lip. Stronger highlights on the cheekbones look pretty as well, and I like to add a bit of rim light to the face. Now let's try using the same technique on the darker skin tone. Deepen the shadow using multiply, adding saturated color and makeup with overlay, and adding cool colors to the shadow with color. Now because the skin tone is darker, the blue color might not be very visible. You can use add layer to add stronger shade of blue, and of course some highlights. This shading method is very versatile, that's why I always use this method. I think you can also do this for characters with blue or purple skin tone. I never tried it, but theoretically it should be possible. Afterwards, I like to go to filter, hue and saturation, and then adjust the colors a little. I also add multiply layer and apply dark blue all over the portrait and then erase the face area. This is so that your audience will focus more on the face because it looks brighter than the rest. Alright, watch these other videos if you will. And thank you for watching. Bye! Actually, hold up. I haven't properly thanked you guys for 142k subs. Holy mother! Seriously, thank you so much to all of you for this milestone. Sorry I've been very inconsistent in posting lately because of some IRL stuff. Maybe I'll tell you a bit about it later. But for now, I'd like to just thank you guys, and I will set up a poll of how we can celebrate this milestone. But if you guys have any idea, please let me know down in the comments. And this time, goodbye for real. Bye!